He had everything people usually clap for. The skyline-level office, the chauffeured rides, the corner suite with a view so high it made clouds look like they were clocking in for work. But for CEO Kaylin Doro, none of it felt like home, not really. Every morning started the same, the soft click of polished shoes on marble floors, assistants calling his name like alarms tied to deadlines, screens lighting up with numbers that had no soul. And Kaylin moved through it all like a man checking boxes on a list someone else wrote for him. He'd built companies, bought companies, reshaped markets, but somehow, he'd lost the shape of himself along the way. The world saw a man at the top, yet behind all that shine, Kaylin kept feeling like a building with lights on but nobody inside. Then came that message, a short handwritten note delivered in a simple envelope. The kind nobody in his office had seen in years. It was from his grandmother, Mama Talifa, the family matriarch whose voice always sounded like warm spices and old songs. Her handwriting wobbled but still held its familiar rhythm. Kaylin, the village needs you. Our home is fading. That single line dragged something alive inside him. A memory, a promise, a tug he'd ignored for too long. His ancestral village, Keturah, the place where his father was born and where generations before him once walked the dusty paths with pride, was falling apart. The homes were crumbling. The school was barely standing. The well was drying up. People were leaving one by one because nothing remained for them. For years he'd donated money, quick transfers, big numbers. But he'd never gone back, not once since he was 12. Suddenly, skyscrapers felt smaller, his empire felt noiseless. And that quiet note from Mama Talifa felt louder than anything his boardroom had ever heard. So Kaylin did something nobody expected. He stood up from his leather chair, looked at the city spread beneath him, and said out loud, maybe to himself, maybe to the silent room, "It's time." 2 days later, he stepped out of a dusty van onto the reddish-brown soil of Keturah, and everything hit him at once: the smell of wood smoke, the distant clatter of goats, the slow rhythm of people greeting each other with real warmth instead of busy nods. Kids ran barefoot, kicking a makeshift ball. Women carried baskets of produce with steady grace. And the elders sat beneath the giant udala tree, talking softly like the world moved at a pace only they understood. Kaylin blinked. This was not the world of glass and steel. This was earth and breath, still. The sight wasn't pretty. Many homes leaned dangerously. The marketplace looked tired. The road held more potholes than smooth stretches. And the school was barely holding its walls together. "This is worse than I thought," he whispered, and then came the culture shock. His designer sneakers instantly collected dust the same color as rust. A rooster crowed so close he almost dropped his luggage. A group of villagers stared, long, assessing. Not unfriendly but certainly curious. One whispered, "Is that really him? The big city son?" Another added, "He looks confused." They weren't wrong, but then Mama Talifa appeared, walking with a slight bend but still holding the dignity of old royalty. She touched his cheek softly. "You came home," she said. Something inside him cracked open. The first meeting with the village council didn't go smoothly. Kaylin rolled out plans like he would in the city, blueprints, budgets, timelines. He talked fast, too fast. The elders blinked slowly at him. Old man Baco, the council head, finally said, "Kaylin, these papers cannot fix a village. We need your heart here, not just your money." Kaylin nodded politely, but he didn't fully get it, not yet. He tried giving out instructions like he did in the office. "Let's move the old market stalls here. We'll redesign the paths. This building needs to go." He pointed. He ordered, he planned, but villagers stared like he was speaking a language made of spreadsheets. One woman muttered, He wants to rebuild in one day?" Another laughed. "The city has made him forget patience." Later that evening, trying to help carry wooden beams, Kaylin's hand slipped and he nearly toppled sideways. The whole group burst into laughter, good-natured, not mocking, but still loud enough to make him rub the back of his neck. He tried using a traditional stove and smoked out half the cooking hut. He tried learning a village greeting and accidentally said something about blessing a chicken's elbows. The kids laughed so hard they rolled on the ground. But slowly, the edge between him and the villagers softened. Kalen found himself sitting under the utila tree at sunset, sipping local palm tea, listening to stories about his father. Stories he'd never heard, stories about how his father once raced goats, broke an old well with too much enthusiasm, and once fell into the river because he tried to impress his cousins. Kalen smiled. He could suddenly see a different version of his father, one with bare feet and sunburned cheeks, a boy of Keturah, not the strict businessman Kalen had known. And that's when it happened, a quiet moment of realization. His life had been paved with spotless floors. Yet he felt more grounded on this dusty soil. The village didn't just need fixing. It needed someone who remembered its heartbeat. And maybe, just maybe, he needed that heartbeat too. Kalen looked around at the dim lantern lights, the murmurs of the village settling into night, the smell of fresh cooked yam drifting through the air. A thought whispered through him like wind brushing over old memories. I think I'm supposed to be here. Before we move on, let me ask you this. If you were Kalen, leaving behind a city of comfort to return to a forgotten ancestral home, what's the first thing you think you'd be afraid of or excited for? Hey there, my wonderful family and friends, welcome back. If you're ready to dive into today's story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments where you're tuning in from. I love seeing where everyone's watching. And guess what? There's another amazing story coming your way tomorrow, one you definitely don't want to miss. Alright then, let's get started. The rooster crowed before sunrise again. And for the second morning in a row, Kalen sat up in the small guest hut, blinking like someone whose alarm clock had grown feathers and attitude. The thin walls let in every village sound, distant chatter, goats complaining about nothing, the clink of pots, the sweep of brooms. But strangely, it felt grounding, still. When he stepped outside, his crisp white shirt was immediately attacked by another cloud of brown dust. Kalen sighed. Of course, he muttered. The villagers chuckled nearby. They found the city man's war with dust more entertaining than any evening storytelling. But today wasn't for adjusting, today was for rebuilding. The first real challenge stood in front of him like a monument to neglect. The village school. The roof sagged, the walls were cracked, and the wooden beams inside were so soft they crumbled to the touch. The small yard where children once played was overgrown. Kalen stared at it, feeling a weight settle on his shoulders. I planned for renovation, he whispered, not resurrection. Behind him, a group of villagers gathered, arms crossed, faces mixed with hope and skepticism. They'd heard big promises before from outsiders who never stayed long enough to deliver. And Kalen could feel their uncertainty hanging in the air. Then old man Baco stepped forward, leaning on his carved walking stick. If we begin something, Kalen, he said, we finish it with spirit, not shortcuts. Can your hands handle that? It was a challenge wrapped in wisdom. Kalen exhaled slowly. My hands will do whatever it takes, the villagers murmured. And for the first time, they believed him, just a little. The next few days were chaos, mostly caused by Kalen himself. He tried carrying bricks but dropped more than he delivered. He tried mixing sand and water for cement, and the mixture came out looking like rebellious porridge. At one point, he accidentally stepped into a wet patch of freshly laid mud, leaving designer shoe footprints like modern art across the ground. The villagers roared with laughter. One young boy shouted, "City man wants to make his mark." Even Kalen laughed eventually, wiping his forehead, but slowly, very slowly. He got better, his hands toughened, his shirts became permanently stained. His steps steadied, and the villagers noticed. The day he lifted a beam correctly for the first time, the entire work group clapped like he'd won a competition. Kalen grinned. It's just one beam. Old man Baco clapped him on the back. In this village, one beam means belief. Then came the turning point. A storm rolled in suddenly, flattening part of the half-built structure. Everyone panicked. The wind howled. The rain hammered down. The villagers ran for shelter. But Kalen didn't move. He stood in the rain, staring at the fallen section like a man whose heart had dropped with it. This wasn't just a building anymore, it was a promise, and seeing it collapse even partly, felt personal. Bako reached him through the rain. "Kaylin, it's only wood. Come inside." "No," Kaylin whispered, "if I leave it, the village will think I came here for show." The rain poured harder, soaking him through, but he kept holding the beam upright, struggling, slipping, refusing to let the structure fall completely. One by one, villagers ran back out to help him. Together, soaked to the bone, they saved what could be saved until the storm passed. When they finished, the sky was clearing, and Kaylin was shivering, drenched, exhausted. But standing tall, a woman named Mira, one of the older villagers, stepped forward, her voice soft. "You fought for us today. That means something." And just like that, the village's skepticism began to melt. That night, by the fire, Kaylin listened as the villagers told stories about old traditions, old festivals, and the history of Katora. Children sat around him asking questions about city life, amazed by the idea of elevators and automatic doors. Women offered him new clothes to wear while his dried by the fire. Elders shared roasted groundnuts and warm palm tea. Someone played a wooden flute, and Kaylin felt something settling inside him. Something peaceful, something he hadn't felt in years. He had spent so long running a life built on urgency that he had forgotten the beauty of a slow evening. A moment without metrics or meetings, a place where people measured time not by deadlines but by the rise and fall of the sun. The next morning, Kaylin stood in the half-repaired school again. Mira approached him, holding a hand-drawn plan the children had made. It showed bright new classrooms, a playground, a library. The drawings were clumsy, colorful, hopeful. Kaylin felt his throat tighten. "These are beautiful," Mira nodded. "They believe in what you're building, not because you're rich, but because you stayed." He didn't expect the words to hit so deeply. For the first time in his adult life, he wasn't creating a quarterly report or a business strategy. He was building something that would outlive him, and he wanted more of it. By the end of the week, the once crumbling school had a new skeleton. Strong beams, repaired walls, and a roof ready to be installed. Villagers passed by every evening, marveling at the transformation. Children ran around the yard again, women brought food for the workers. Men volunteered their skills, and through it all, Kaylin's presence wasn't that of a visiting CEO. It was that of a teammate, a neighbor, someone who belonged. His designer shoes were ruined, his hands were blistered, his clothes carried permanent dust, and he looked more alive than he had in years. One evening, while scraping mud from his sleeves, he whispered to himself, "I didn't come here to find myself. But maybe that's what's happening." In the distance, the villagers prepared for the next phase of rebuilding. New wells, new market stalls, new community spaces. And Kaylin knew he was ready for whatever came next. But what he didn't know was that the next stage wouldn't just rebuild a village. It would change the entire course of his heart if you were living in Kaylin's shoes. City life behind you, village life changing you. Which skill do you think would be harder to learn? The physical work, or the patience? By the time the school's new roof was ready to be lifted, Kaylin had earned a reputation he never asked for, the CEO who works like a village son, but he still hadn't met everyone. That changed on a warm, golden evening when he walked toward the artisan workshop, a small open-air shed filled with chisels, clay pots, carved stools, and crafts made with patient hands. He wanted to commission a carved plaque for the school's entrance. Inside, he heard soft humming, a calm, rhythmic sound, like someone working with both skill and soul. He stepped closer, and there she was, Leora Maseko, a local artisan known across the nearby villages. But no one had warned him that she carried the kind of presence that made the world quiet for a moment. Her hair was tied loosely with a patterned cloth. Her hands were dusted with wood shavings. Her face held a mix of strength and serenity. Like someone who had learned to move through life with intention, she wore a simple, earth-toned dress that flowed with her movements as she carved patterns into a wooden panel. Kaylin froze for a second, studying the detail in her work. Leora didn't look up right away. "When you stare that quietly," she said softly, "you make the wood nervous." Kaylin blinked, caught. "Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt." She finally raised her eyes. And in that moment, the workshop, the distant chatter. The entire village seemed to blur. Leora wiped her hands on a cloth and smiled gently. You must be the man everyone talks about. The one who fights storms and loses battles with mud, Kalen laughed, rubbing his neck. Unfortunately, yes. That's me. I'm Leora, she said. Offering her hand, he shook it, expecting a light touch. Instead, her handshake was firm, steady, grounding. I've been seeing the changes around the village, Leora said. You're doing something meaningful. And not the kind of drop donation and disappear thing we're used to. Kalen shrugged. I'm trying. No, she corrected softly. You're committing. There was something about the way she said it. Something that felt more like a mirror than a compliment. And just like that, the air shifted. The more time he spent in the artisan shed, the more Kalen felt himself drawn into a calm he couldn't find in the city. Leora worked slowly, shaping the wood like it was telling her a story only she could hear. Kalen found himself watching the way her eyebrows furrowed when she focused, the way she hummed softly, the way she occasionally wiped sawdust off her cheek with the back of her hand. She was peaceful, not because her life was easy, but because she lived with purpose. Kalen wanted that feeling for himself. One afternoon, she taught him how to carve simple patterns. He held the tool awkwardly, like it was a stock market graph he didn't trust. Leora laughed. You're holding it like it's going to attack you. I'm used to laptops, he replied. Well, she said, guiding his hands, this one won't glitch or freeze. It just needs patience. He tried again. A tiny, very tiny pattern emerged. Leora looked impressed. Not bad for a beginner. He held the carved piece, surprised at how proud he felt. Maybe I'll make a whole chair next. She shook her head. Let's aim for a spoon first. They laughed together. And it felt easy, natural, over the next few days. Leora and Kalen found small moments together without planning them. Painting new shutters for the school, sketching designs for the entrance plaque, walking through the fields where the sun dipped low and made everything glow in warm tones. Their conversations were simple yet layered. What do you miss about the city? What do you think you'd gain if you stayed? What scared you most about coming back? And one evening, Kalen asked quietly, what made you stay in the village when so many left? Leora took a slow breath. Because this place raised me, and because someone has to stay to rebuild what's still worth saving. Something in her answer hooked deeply inside him. But just when the connection between them began to feel like a thread pulling them closer. One afternoon, as they prepared to install the carved plaque, a sleek black SUV rolled into the village. Its polished surface and tinted windows completely out of place. The door opened, out stepped Ryan Corlo, Kalen's COO and longtime business partner. Sharp suit, sharp tone, sharp intentions. Kalen, he said crisply, ignoring the villagers' stares. We need to talk. Now. Kalen's stomach tightened. Ryan glanced at Leora briefly, barely acknowledging her, then he turned back to Kalen. You've been gone too long. There's been a development. A serious one. Kalen frowned. What kind of development? Ryan stepped closer, whispering, there's a board move happening. A quiet one. If you don't return soon, you might lose your position. The words hit like a punch. Kalen felt his entire old world rushing back at him. The pressure, the politics, the constant fear of slipping from power. But something else hit at the same time. He looked toward the school. The villagers working together, Leora watching him carefully. The plaque she'd carved with her own hands. Two worlds, colliding, and Ryan wasn't finished. You have 48 hours, he said. After that, decisions will be made without you. The SUV door closed. The engine growled, and Ryan sped away, leaving dust swirling in his wake. Kalen swallowed hard. Leora stepped beside him. Her voice soft but steady. What will you do? He didn't answer right away. He didn't know how to. Because for the first time, Kalen realized the village hadn't just rebuilt itself around him. He was rebuilding inside it, and leaving wasn't as simple as it used to be. If you were in Kalen's position right now, torn between the life you built and the life that's rebuilding you, would you go back to the city or stay and face the unknown? The next morning, Kalen woke before the rooster. Sleep had barely touched him. Ryan's words looped in his mind like a storm that wouldn't pass. 48 hours. Or they'll decide without you. He walked out into the cool dawn air, watching the sky blush from gray to gold. Villagers were already up, sweeping pathways, heating water, preparing tools for the day's work. Life moved with a rhythm that no corporate clock could mimic. Leora spotted him standing alone near the school frame. "You're thinking too loudly," she said softly. He exhaled. "Is it that obvious?" "Yes." She moved beside him, their shoulders almost touching. "You're trying to choose between two worlds." He looked at her, and the weight he carried felt even heavier. "I'm afraid that whatever I choose, I lose something." Leora didn't rush to comfort him. She didn't give cliches or shallow reassurances. Instead, she spoke with the honesty he'd come to appreciate. "Maybe you don't have to choose," she said. "Maybe you reshape the choice." Those words settled deep, but reshaping something was easier said than done. Kalen threw himself into the work that day. He lifted beams, hammered nails, mixed cement, anything to drown out the decision waiting in the back of his mind. And what a day it was, for the first time in years. The village buzzed with something close to celebration. The new well had reached fresh water. The marketplace stalls were being rebuilt with vibrant colors. The school walls were finished, smooth and strong. Waiting for the final coat of paint, children ran around Kalen proudly, pointing out the playground design they helped sketch. "Uncle Kalen, there will be swings. And a reading corner." He smiled despite his turmoil. "Only if I can test the swings first." Their laughter wrapped around him like a warm blanket. The village was not merely repairing its buildings. It was reclaiming its heartbeat. Women planted flowers along the pathways. Fathers taught teenagers how to handle tools. Elders blessed each new structure with quiet prayers and gentle touches. And through it all, Kalen felt something powerful. This place was coming alive. And so was he. Near sunset, a soft melody filled the air. Someone had brought out drums, another picked up a wooden flute. And soon the village fell into a spontaneous rhythm, music echoing through the hills. A small crowd pulled Kalen in. "Dance, city man," they teased. He shook his head, laughing. "I have 2 left feet." But Leora stepped forward, offering her hand. "Then one of your left feet can follow me." He hesitated, then took her hand, and suddenly they were moving. Slow at first, then with surprising ease. Her steps guided him, her smile loosened him, her presence steadied him in a way spreadsheets never could. Under lantern light, surrounded by laughter and music, something real settled between them. Not rushed, not dramatic, just honest. When the dance ended, she held his gaze for a long moment. "Kalen," she whispered, "you belong more than you think." He swallowed hard. "Maybe I do," but just when the evening felt like hope had taken shape, a group of villagers rushed toward the square, faces tense, voices low but urgent. "Kalen, come quickly." He followed them to the community center, where Baco stood with a paper in his trembling hands. "It came from the city," Baco said, "delivered by courier." Kalen took the envelope, recognizing the corporate seal instantly. A chill crept down his spine. Inside was a formal notice, a board intervention, an upcoming vote, and a single line that hollowed his chest. "Your absence is considered a formal abandonment of executive duties." He stared at it, heart pounding. They weren't waiting 48 hours. They were moving now. The villagers watched him with quiet worry. Leora stepped closer. "What does it mean?" "It means," Kalen swallowed, voice tightening. "It means they're trying to replace me." Mira placed a hand on Kalen's arm. "But you've been rebuilding our home." "Yes," he said, "but the city sees what it wants to see. And to them, I left." Silence fell. Baco took a slow breath. "My boy, sometimes when you do the right thing, you still pay a price." Kalen closed his eyes, feeling the ground tilt beneath him. Everything he'd built in the city, years of work, sacrifice, leadership, could disappear. And yet, when he opened his eyes, he saw the village, the school, the marketplace, the people he'd come to care for. Leora watching him with quiet, steady faith, 2 worlds, pulling at him with equal force. That night, Kaylin walked alone to the edge of the fields where the fireflies sparked like tiny stars. He breathed in the scent of fresh soil, feeling every beat of his heart in the silence. He thought about the boardroom, he thought about the school. He thought about his father's stories, and Mama Talifa's letter, and Leora's calm strength beside him. He thought about what legacy really meant. Leora found him there. "You don't have to pretend," she said softly. "I know you're hurting." He didn't deny it. "I'm scared," he admitted. "Of losing everything I built, of disappointing everyone here, of choosing wrong." She stepped closer. "Kaylin, you're not losing yourself. You're finding yourself, and sometimes, finding yourself feels like breaking." Her voice cracked just slightly, and it surprised him. It meant she cared deeply. He turned toward her fully. "Leora, if I stay," she placed a finger over his lips. "Don't decide yet. The world is bigger than one choice." They stood under the quiet night sky, just breathing, just existing, until the stars felt like they were leaning in to listen, and in that stillness, Kaylin realized something profound. Whatever happened next, he was no longer the man who arrived in Katora with polished shoes and a distant heart. He had been changed, rooted, rebuilt, not just by the village, but by the people in it, especially one. If you were Kaylin right now, facing a future that could break into directions, would you fight for your old life, or let it go to protect the new one taking shape? Morning light washed over Katora like a soft blessing, stretching across the new school walls, the repaired roofs, the freshly painted market stalls. The village was still waking up, roosters crowing, kettles warming over charcoal, children giggling somewhere in the distance. And in the middle of all that new life stood Kaylin, feeling a storm of emotions he could no longer escape. He held the board's notice in his hand. The sharp, printed words felt colder than any corporate meeting he'd ever attended. They were moving to replace him. They were doing it quickly, and they were doing it intentionally. He exhaled, long and slow. Leora approached from behind, carrying a small basket of folded cloths. Her steps were steady, as if she brought calm with her wherever she walked. "You didn't sleep," she said gently. "No," Kaylin admitted. "Too much on my mind." She nodded. "Then maybe the one thing you need is the one thing you're avoiding." "And what's that?" he asked. "Clarity." She set the basket down and pointed toward the village center, where villagers were gathering with food, tools, and decorations. "Today is the village's gratitude gathering. They planned it before the letter arrived. They want to honor the work everyone has done." Kaylin blinked. "They're doing that. For each other? For each other," she repeated. "Not for you. Not for me. For us. For the village." Her words sunk deep. They weren't celebrating him. They were celebrating themselves. What he started had become something bigger than him. Kaylin followed her toward the center, and the sight that greeted him felt like a dream wrapped in watercolor. The square had been decorated with strings of patterned cloth fluttering between poles. Wooden tables were laid with baskets of roasted yam, grilled fish, fresh fruit, and steaming bowls of stew. Children ran around with painted faces, holding handmade paper flags. Drums thumped gently in the background. Old man Bako stood near the utila tree, tapping his walking stick rhythmically as villagers greeted him. When he saw Kaylin, he smiled warmly. "You look troubled," Bako said, "but today, at least for a moment, you should allow your heart to rest." Kaylin tried to smile. "I'm not sure I remember how." "Then we will remind you," Bako replied. Villagers gathered around him, Mira with her woven baskets, the children with their drawings, the builders with their tools laid out proudly, the elders with gentle nods. They had all come together out of gratitude, not for perfection, not for money, for shared effort, for unity. Mira stepped forward first. "In the past months," she began, "we have rebuilt homes, repaired the well, brought color back to the marketplace, and restored hope to our people, and we did it together, not because of one person, but because everyone's hands joined in." Kaylin nodded, humbled. A group of children ran up with a surprise, a wooden plaque carved with the words, "Katora rises." "We made this for the school," one girl said shyly, "but also for you." Kaylin swallowed hard. "It's beautiful." "Hold it," another boy insisted. When Kalen did, the entire square applauded, and in that moment, surrounded by people who had nothing to gain from him, he felt something shift inside, something like belonging. Then came the twist he never saw coming. Bako raised his hand. "There is something else we must speak about today," he said solemnly. The crowd quieted. Bako turned to Kalen. "We learned last night that the neighboring village, Naru, heard about what we are building here. They sent word that they want help too. Not money, guidance, community. They want to rebuild their school and their broken well." The villagers murmured, excited and nervous. Mira added, "They said, Katora gave them courage." Kalen felt something spark in his chest. Leora stepped closer, her voice warm. "Your work didn't just change us, it inspired others." Kalen's breath caught. It was bigger than he imagined, far bigger than the board meeting waiting to swallow him whole. But before he could absorb it fully, Bako cleared his throat again. "There is more," the elder said. The villagers leaned in. Bako looked directly at Kalen. "Someone from the city reached out late last night," he continued. "Your grandmother." Kalen's heart dropped. "Mama Talifa." "Yes," Bako said. "She asked for you." The world seemed to tilt beneath him. "She said you should not let fear steal your purpose. Not in the city, not in the village. She said you once made her a promise. A promise to honor your roots and honor your own heart." Kalen closed his eyes. That promise, he remembered it vividly, a childhood vow spoken with small hands and big dreams. "You must visit her," Bako said softly. "She knows you are standing at a crossroads." Kalen nodded slowly. I didn't know she needed me. Families don't always call when they need you," Bako replied. "Sometimes they whisper, and sometimes the whisper is easy to miss." The crowd dispersed for a moment, giving Kalen space. Leora stayed. "Kalen," she whispered, "you don't have to face this alone." He turned toward her, his expression raw. "I'm scared," he admitted again. "I know. What if going back means losing everything I built here?" Leora stepped closer, looking into him rather than at him. "Then ask yourself," she said, "is what you built here meant to depend on one person? Or is it meant to grow because of many?" Kalen's chest tightened. "Leora, whatever happens next, I need you to know." She held up her hand gently. "Don't say anything yet," she whispered. "Not until you know what your heart is choosing for the right reason, not the painful one." They stood there, surrounded by distant music, warm voices, and the heartbeat of a village reborn. By midday, the gratitude gathering had turned into a festival. Dancing, storytelling, drumming, children tugging at Kalen's sleeves asking him to join their games. It was a day filled with laughter and joy. But beneath it all, a quiet truth settled. Katora no longer needed rescuing. It needed leadership, vision, connection, and those things didn't disappear just because Kalen might leave for a while. As the sun dipped low, casting long shadows, Kalen stood at the edge of the square looking out at the fields. He imagined Naru village waiting for help. He imagined Mama Talifa waiting for him in her small home. He imagined the boardroom, cold and distant, preparing to take what he had built. He exhaled. A man could lose a title and still keep his purpose. A man could lose a position and still find a calling. And a man could walk away from one life, if it meant walking toward the one that truly belonged to him. Kalen looked back at the village, at Leora standing near the lanterns, her eyes searching for his. He realized something that shook him quietly. The legacy he was building wasn't about buildings or titles. It was about people, connection, love, and the courage to choose what mattered. Before the act closes, take a moment. If you were Kalen, standing between a life of power and a life of purpose, which legacy would you choose to build? The journey back to the city felt heavier than Kalen expected. The road stretched endlessly through forests, fields, and quiet towns, each mile pulling him farther from the warmth of Katora. He watched the scenery pass like shifting memories. Leora's steady eyes, the laughter of the children, the village rising from dust. But he had to do this, for his grandmother. For closure, for clarity. When he arrived at Mama Talifa's home, Dusk had already draped the neighborhood in purple shadows. Her small house, painted in faded blue, hadn't changed in years. The old mango tree still leaned protectively toward the roof. He stood at the door for a moment before knocking. She opened it almost immediately. "Kaylin," she whispered, her voice thin but warm. Suddenly, he was a boy again, running barefoot into her arms after school. "Grandma," he said, hugging her carefully. She held him longer than expected, her fingers trembling slightly. "Come in," she said, guiding him inside. The living room smelled of dried herbs and old books. The same photos adorned the walls. His parents smiling, his childhood drawings. Mama Talifa holding him as a baby. Time had preserved everything, yet time had changed her. Her once strong posture was softer now. The lines on her face deeper, telling stories of years lived quietly. They sat together, and for a while, they said nothing. "You're troubled," she finally said. Kaylin nodded. "Everything feels like it's falling apart. Tell me," she said. And he did. He told her about the board's betrayal. About Keturah, about Leora, about the village's gratitude gathering. About the letter, the fear, the crossroads. Mama Talifa listened without interrupting, her thumbs moving slowly over her prayer beads. When he finished, her voice was calm and steady. "Kaylin, the world can take away titles, positions, money, but it cannot take away who you truly are." He looked at her. "Unsure, you built something," she continued. "Not a project, not a report, but a community. A people who believe they matter again." He swallowed hard. "And this board," she added, "did not betray you. They freed you." Kaylin frowned. "How?" "They're removing me. They removed the version of you they thought they owned," she said. "The one trapped in meetings, the one afraid to disappoint. The one who forgot the boy who promised to help people one day." He inhaled sharply. Memories stirred, his parents' faces, his father's words, his own young voice declaring he would become a man who uplifted others. Mama Talifa leaned forward. "You are not losing a future," she said softly. "You are choosing one." Kaylin bowed his head, overwhelmed. She placed her hand on his. "I want you to listen to me carefully," she said. "You were never meant to sit in a glass tower watching life from above. You were meant to walk with people, build with them. Feel the earth under your feet." His eyes burned. "I don't know if I'm strong enough." "You are," she whispered. "And if you ever doubt it, return to where your heart tells you the truth." And there it was. The permission he didn't know he needed. He spent the night by her side, listening to stories from her youth. Her laughter filling the room with echoes of who she used to be. When she finally fell asleep, Kaylin sat beside her, watching the rise and fall of her breath. By morning, he had made his choice. He returned to his apartment, packed his belongings into two bags, and walked into the corporate headquarters for the final time. The marble floors gleamed, the air cold and controlled. People walked past him with stiff expressions, clutching tablets and coffee cups. He didn't feel bitterness. Not anymore. He felt free. When he stepped into the boardroom, the directors looked up in surprise. "Kaylin," the chairman said stiffly. "We weren't expecting." "I know," he replied, setting the letter on the table. "I'm not here to argue." They exchanged glances. "I'm here," he continued, "to thank you." The room went completely silent. "You gave me the chance to grow," Kaylin said. "But it's time for me to build something that aligns with who I truly am." A director lifted an eyebrow. "And what is that?" Kaylin smiled. "A future that matters." He turned and walked out. Not with anger, not with regret, but with certainty. Outside, sunlight hit him like a blessing. He didn't even glance back. The road to Keturah felt different this time. Brighter, lighter, hopeful. He reached the village by afternoon. And as he stepped out of the vehicle, children ran toward him cheering. "Kaylin's back. Uncle Kel, you came back." Leora stood near the Udala tree, arms crossed, trying not to smile. But failing slightly, Kaylin walked straight toward her. "You left quietly," she said softly. "I wasn't sure you'd return." "I wasn't sure either," he admitted. "What changed?" He looked at her, the woman with quiet strength, the one who helped him find himself again. "My heart," he said. It finally spoke louder than my fear. A small breath escaped her lips. And what did it say? She asked. That my future is here. The village seemed to hold its breath. Kaylin stepped closer. With the people I want to build it with, he continued, people who believe in community, in growth, in hope. She blinked slowly. And me? He took her hands gently. Especially you. Her eyes shimmered. Kaylin, I'm not choosing between two lives, he whispered. I'm choosing the one that feels true. Then, slowly, tenderly, he kissed her. Not the rushed desperation of earlier days, but a grounded, quiet kiss of a man who finally understood what he wanted. The villagers erupted into cheers, children dancing around them with laughter. Baco approached, his smile wise and full. I see you found your direction, he said. Kaylin nodded. I did, and what will you do next? The elder asked. Kaylin looked around at the village. At the repaired school, the rebuilt homes, the rising hope. I'm going to help Katora grow, he said, then help Naru. Then every settlement that needs support, not as a CEO, not as a director, Liora squeezed his hand, but as a man who listened to his heart. Baco tapped his staff. Then your legacy begins now, and under the golden evening sky, surrounded by community, love, purpose, and a future that finally made sense. Kaylin felt a peace he had chased for years. A new beginning had found him. He had chosen it, and it had chosen him back.
Thank you for watching all the way through. If this story moved you, the next one will surprise you in ways you won't expect. Go ahead and click the video on your screen. Your next story awaits.